I'm Phoebe Sengers. I work in information science and technology studies at Cornell University. And the topic I want to address today is seeing critical technical practice or using critical reflection as an essential part of technology design as part of software studies. And let me start by telling you a little bit about what I do. If you execute me, then you will usually find that I'm doing this kind of thing. First, to use cultural analysis to think about what kinds of assumptions are underlying the existing overall patterns in technology design practice, and particularly finding the ones that I don't like. Then building new applications that embody alternative assumptions, directions that I think that technology should go. Then giving those applications to people to test out and try out and live with and see how people both respond to those, but also how they appropriate them and use them in new and unexpected ways. So just to give you a flavor of what this is like, for example, I built the system Home Health with Bill Gaver at Goldsmiths College. It's a kind of parody or reframing of a smart home. Smart homes typically are thought of as being able to sense what users are doing in there and help them with things like keeping track of their grocery shopping list. In our case, Home Health also senses the patterns of activities of users and identifies when they have changed in ways that may be salient to the social or emotional health of the home. Once a day, the system outputs a horoscope that gives the system's prediction of issues and ideas that it thinks that users should be thinking about that day. So here, the authority of the home as knowing what you're doing is undercut by the horoscope, while at the same time trying to offer moments of reflection that may be relevant. A second system I built is called Affector. This was a collaboration with Simeon Warner and Kirsten Boehner. This is, again, a modification of the genre of workplace communication systems. In this case, what we did was we built this highly aestheticized video link between two offices, and the goal of this system was really to try to reframe what we think of as office communication from productivity and optimization of project work to trying to create a sense of support for ongoing office friendships, and to do that in an ambiguous and open-ended way that would highlight the actual understandings and experiences of the users outside the system, rather than trying to build a system that could then embody everything about that relationship and help people to optimize them. The third system, this is ongoing work with Lucian Leahu, is called Fear Reflector. This is a device to take with you while you go backpacking that measures your physiological signals and attempts to determine when you're afraid. When you, for example, run into a grizzly bear, it will start to take pictures of the situation, and after you've calmed down, will provide you with a moment for reflection. The major conceptual issue that we're grappling with in the design of this system, both in the interface and in terms of the machine learning algorithms that are intended to learn your patterns of fear from your physiological data, is how to balance the fact that when it comes down to it, computers don't really know about your emotions, that your emotions are quite complex and multivalent, but that a computer can still provide you with some support for reflecting on those emotions without putting it in the position of telling you how you feel and telling you how you should be feeling. So from these examples, you may recognize some patterns in the kinds of issues that I'm dealing with in this work. I'm quite interested in generally questioning the authority of computational representations as being able to decide what you are doing or what your life is like or what you should be doing. To use computers not as a form of command and control, but rather to open up new spaces that allow people to improvise new kinds of activities and understandings. To imagine more generally new ways that technologies could fit into our lives outside of the genres of productivity, efficiency, consumption, and entertainment. And most importantly, in general, to think about the kinds of political and epistemological issues that are embodied in technologies, to highlight those, and at the same time to provide alternatives, to show that technologies could be different. Now, in terms of software studies, I think what's really important about this kind of work is this idea of technology design as a form of critical craft work, that dealing with very low-level issues in the code, such as the vision algorithms and the programming languages that underlie the affector system, that every time you're making a technical decision at that level, it's affecting the kinds of conceptual work that you're doing as a kind of philosophical critical practice. And for me, software studies is the promising place where we can start to talk about those issues that cross-cut code and cultural, political, and critical issues. So this is my sort of 50,000 level view of what we should be thinking about in software studies. And if I make a walk through the kinds of disciplines that I typically have worked in, trying to deal with some of these different kinds of issues that intersect in software studies, then what I see are things like this. In computer science, we tend to just stay inside that box of the computer and look at the code, and issues around culture and politics tend to be out of view. On the other hand, when I've worked in areas such as cultural studies of IT, that's provided very important tools for being able to understand how software might interrelate with society, ideology, politics, and so on. But at the same time, the tools for understanding what's actually going on with the code are quite limited, and in extreme cases, one can find oneself labeled a technological determinist. So my sort of provisional solution to this so far has been working within human-computer interaction, which is kind of interesting because it allows you to actually talk about that box that appears to be dividing these issues, and to some extent lets you start talking about how code connects to society, politics, and so on, but it's very much focused on the interface, and I think this is where the mistake is, or maybe not the mistake, but where things start to get blocked. Because you actually can't talk about internal code very much in HCI. I think what software studies needs to do is to actually explode this idea of interface, the idea that there are two separate spheres that the interface connects between. So for me, I would say my definition of software studies is it's time to turn software inside out, not software studies. I didn't mean to write a recursive definition. Turn software inside out and recognize the ways in which when you're talking about code, you're always already talking about all of those other things. And when you're talking about the effects that computers have and their impact in society, you always already have to start talking about code. Thank you.